Modi CGI jointly worship Ganpati. Opposition sees government judiciary collusion. Opposition says judiciary no longer free.
संविधान के रखवालदार इस प्रकार से अगर राजनीतिक नेताओं से मिलते हैं तो हमें शंका है कि हमें न्याय मिलेगा।
BJP accuses opposition of insulting devotees and judiciary.
Cannot different pillars of democracy meet? Cannot they converge? Should not they be friends? Should they be enemies? Should they not be talking to each other?
Shri Ganesh to a political war.
Now, a late-night visit by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and a brief one of that to the Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud's residence for Ganesh Chaturthi for the puja on the inviter of the CGI has sparked a huge political storm, with the opposition now questioning whether the CGI is independent. They've also questioned if the judiciary is independent. They've claimed another institution has been compromised. All over, the Prime Minister visiting the CGI's residence and those images that came in of him conducting a puja. The BJP has defended this visit, calling the criticism a slight against the judiciary and Lord Ganesha.
Shri Ganesh to a political war. Big meltdown over Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to CGI D.Y. Chandrachud's residence for Ganpati Puja. The opposition came down heavily on the meet, questioning the CGI's independence.
संविधान के रखवालदार इस प्रकार से अगर राजनीतिक नेताओं से मिलते हैं तो लोगों के मन में शंका है। हमारी जो केस है महाराष्ट्र में, जो घटना बाह्य सरकार चल रही है और उसकी सुनवाई चंद्रचूड़ साहब के सामने चल रही है, तो हमें शंका है कि हमें न्याय मिलेगा।
This is not a proper conduct. Of course, there is a separation of institutions. That means the power, legislature, executive, and judiciary. It was his private function in which he would have not invited, and Prime Minister would have also not accepted it.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी पूजा अर्चना का इस्तेमाल राजनीतिक फायदे और नुकसान के लिए करती है। बीजेपी ने स्पष्ट कर दिया कि कल की पूजा का मकसद लोगों के दिमाग में हलचल पैदा करना।
आप क्या चाहते हैं? Cannot.
Hitting back, the BJP termed the opposition's attacks a disrespect to judiciary, CGI and Lord Ganpati.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट के चीफ जस्टिस से अगर देश के प्रधानमंत्री मिलते हैं, उस पे आप आपत्ति करते हैं, और वहां अमेरिका जाके इल्हान ओमर से मिलते हैं, उस पे आपत्ति नहीं है। जो पीओके के साथ खड़ा है, जो देश को बेचना चाहता है, जो हिंदुस्तान के विपरीत बुद्धि रखती है, उसके साथ मिलने से कोई आपत्ति नहीं है।
Sources tell India Today that the CGI sent out invitations to several dignitaries, including Prime Minister Modi. Supreme Court judges and other officials were also present at the CGI's residence for Ganpati Puja. Sources also revealed that Modi's visit was very brief and he left the CGI's residence immediately after the puja. Bar Council said there is nothing wrong with Prime Minister CGI joint puja.
Our Honorable Prime Minister visited the house of the Chief Justice of India for attending a puja ceremony. There is nothing wrong in it. It is not going to affect the health of our judiciary. It is not going to affect or influence any judgment either by our Chief Justice of India or by the Supreme Court.
Many senior lawyers have criticized CGI Chandrachud for what they described as compromising the division of powers between the judiciary and executive. Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, Kapil Sibal, just about an hour ago, lashed out also, accusing the Prime Minister of making a spectacle, saying it's not so much about the meet, but why was a video of a private event publicized in this manner? So he's blamed the Prime Minister. Union Minister Jitendra Singh responded, hitting back, saying that there were constantly iftar parties during the UPA era, and then there was no controversy. Those pictures on your screens of the then CGI with the then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh.
The Prime Minister of India should never have shown his interest to go to such a private event. Because the Prime Minister and those he must have consulted should and must have told him that this may send a wrong signal. Because the issue is not individual, the issue is what impact such a clip has on the minds of people.
ऐसा नहीं है कि पहली सरकारों में नहीं होता था। पहली बात तो ये कि यूपीए सरकार में भी होता रहा, वहाँ तो इफ्तार पार्टियां होती थी, वहाँ जज भी जाते थे, चीफ जस्टिस भी जाते थे, जस्टिस बाला सुब्रमण्यम भी गए जब डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह जी ने इफ्तार पार्टी की। और दूसरी बात ये है कि अगर किसी के घर में कोई सोशल फंक्शन है या रिलीजियस फंक्शन है, तो या फिर उदाहरण के तौर पर शादी ब्याह है, तो क्या फिर जज को ये भी पाबंदी है कि वो किसी को आमंत्रित नहीं कर सकता? अब आखिरकार वो है तो समाज का एक सदस्य।
And Aishwarya Paliwal on this broadcast for more details on exactly how the BJP is countering this narrative from the opposition. Aishwarya, good evening. You've got now Union Ministers speaking out on this, and most of them largely are referring to iftar parties, saying that when the UPA was in power, iftar parties would see the CGI, the Prime Minister, all mingle together. So what's the problem now?
Well, definitely, and it's the top leaders of the Bharatiya Janata Party, the BJP. In fact, Piyush Goyal also, let me tell you, Akshita, a couple of minutes ago, said the same thing. He said that we also used to see how iftar parties were being held. India is one nation. He also went ahead and said that he also has been doing Ganesh Puja almost for the past 30 years, and he also sends invitation to everyone without seeing whether the person is from his party or from any other party. So keeping all those things in mind, the BJP is now saying, why are you raising fingers when you were attending the iftar parties? No one used to say anything. But the opposition parties, and especially the Congress party, is now saying that it is the CGI, and they are also saying that in days to come, we might see that the Supreme Court might not be very unbiased. So what the Congress party trying to say is that the CGI or the Supreme Court is being compromised, and that's what the BJP is saying, that that's where the opposition parties are wrong. Ganesh Puja is something that the entire nation celebrates, and that's all that the Prime Minister did when he visited the CGI and performed the Ganesh Aarti.
The BJP's counter essentially is that the anger isn't over the Prime Minister and CGI meeting, but it's over the fact that it happened for Ganesh Chaturthi and not iftar. So that's another angle that the opposition is putting forth. Thanks very much, Aishwarya, for those details. But let's also, as the opposition has accused now the CGI of being biased even, let's talk about some of the observations or orders that the CGI has passed on some crucial issues that came up in his court, and they were clearly against the Modi government, against the centre. The one that immediately comes to your mind is, of course, the electoral bonds case, where the CGI-led bench was extremely critical of the BJP and extremely critical of the central government, and very clearly deemed electoral bonds as unconstitutional. Now, besides this, on several other cases, mind you that these are observations that the CGI made, where he clearly differed with the central government's view. On same-sex marriage, he said very clearly it's not an urban elitist concept as claimed by the centre. The centre in its affidavit had put forth that version, and the CGI said that is not the case. So he directly contradicted them. On the Shiv Sena case, remember that entire fight for power and whatnot, very clearly the CGI said that the Maharashtra governor cannot comment on state government formation. The Uddhav Sena today is accusing the CGI of bias, but here he clearly pulled up the governor, saying there's no place for the governor to comment on these things. Sealed cover submissions. The central government essentially put forth a proposition saying all submissions to the court will be done in a sealed cover, so nobody publicly can know what's being given to the court. The CGI said we will not accept sealed cover suggestions from the central government. Now, there are a lot of views also coming in legally, with several lawyers weighing in on what they think about this entire showdown and this war of words. I spoke to senior advocate Mahesh Jethmalani. Take a look at this exclusive. And joining me now is Senior Advocate of the Supreme Court, Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani. Mr. Jethmalani, good evening. First of all, sir, what do you make of all of the outrage over the Prime Minister's visit to the CGI residence for Ganesh Chaturthi?
You know, it's just an unseemly storm in the teacup. I don't think too much should be read into this. You know, the Ganesh festival is a very big festival in Maharashtra. You know, it's probably one of the most celebrated deities. Ganesh is one of the most celebrated deities. And, you know, it's very common for people to get invitations to come for aartis and darshans during this time. You know, it's almost a social come religious event, particularly in Maharashtra. So you know, the fact that just happened to be the Prime Minister has created a storm in the teacup. It's wholly unnecessary. It's disproportionate to the occasion. It's reading too much into it and attributing motives that really should not be attributed.
The opposition, sir, is saying that this is unprecedented simply because we've never seen it happen before. We've never seen a Prime Minister actually visit the CGI's residence on a personal invite like this.
Well, I mean, it may be unprecedented, but it doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's just because somebody else hasn't done it, it doesn't mean that there is some impropriety involved in this. It's just a polite, you know, invitation for an occasion which I think, you know, everybody expressed their religious fervor, their devotion to the deity. What's wrong with that? I mean, do we have something against this kind of, you know, these kind of social stroke religious pleasantries? So what have we become to? I mean, what are we making mountains out of molehills for?
I'll tell you, Mr. Jethmalani, for example, today
what is the impropriety? The judge's personal conduct in inviting somebody.
When I spoke to Mr. Hegde, for example, he says that justice must not merely be done, but must also be seen to be done, which is why he's questioning this particular visit.
But this was not an act of dispensation of justice. For God's sake, what is the perceived injustice in inviting a Prime Minister, right, to participate in a religious occasion?
The larger
message. This is taking separation of powers too much and judicial propriety. I think the opposition is just bereft of issues. And I'm sorry to say that anything that happens that smacks remotely of the Hindu religion gets their hackles up. It's a red rag to a bull.
Are you saying, Mr. Jethmalani,
I dare say that nobody objected to the iftar party from the opposition who were then in power.
So you're saying when the get-togethers happen for iftar, it's okay, but Ganesh Chaturthi is the problem.
I dare say nobody objected. Yes, I mean, there seems to be some selective outrage and you know, everybody's getting extremely contentious about something that really doesn't need to be. I mean, you're unnecessarily casting aspersions on people where it doesn't need to be cast. It's all very well to sit out there and, you know, pontificate on television programs and make ex cathedra statements, but you're causing damage both to individuals and institutions. And they are not the ones who are doing it. Frankly, you are the ones who are doing it. Because you're attracting unnecessary, misconceived attention. You are attracting unnecessary, misconceived attention to an extremely innocuous event.
But that's the charge of the opposition, sir, that today institutions are compromised. You had Mr. Kapil Sibal saying, why was a private event like this being publicized in this manner? That was wrong. The event itself, the invite itself may have been okay, but why was it publicized?
But that's okay. I mean, nothing wrong with it being publicized. According to you, according to Mr. Sibal and his ilk, right? And maybe you can help us because you may understand them better, right?
Not really.
What is the message being sent out by publicizing the event? You tell me what is the message. I'm extremely innocent of these matters. What is the message that is being sent? They are reading a message to it to make it a political event. They want to do it. Bereft of issues, they will undermine anything that's innocuous. Because they are bereft of issues. They are a vacuous opposition. They will raise these issues. They are the ones who are damaging the institutions. When there is nothing wrong with this interaction, you will still read something into it and create suspicion in the mind of people. This means there is no separation of powers in this country. You elevate it to absence of separation of powers as if both these gentlemen innocently doing a darshan are somehow or the other involved in some high conspiracy which subverts the separation of powers concept. I think it is stupid.
Mr. Jethmalani, the opposition is saying that the institution now is compromised and that it's bad optics, essentially. Do you think that with this meeting being publicized in the manner it was, it kind of hands it on a platter to the opposition to now also poke holes in the judiciary?
Well, I suppose once you fail 3 times to come to power, you get a little desperate and you clutch at straw, you scrape barrels. That's what's happening. And it's a mark of acute frustration. Why can't we get this man out? Now blame a judge for calling him for a little religious arti. It's nothing more than that. And what optics? It's their optics. They are seeing it through their own colored glasses. The public doesn't think anything about this. The public is not so petty. The public doesn't think that just because the two have got together for a little religious arti, that there is some dramatic subversion of institutions. They want you to believe that. It's a false narrative like so much they perpetuate in the press.
If the tables were turned, Mr. Jethmalani, and this was, let's say, a Rahul Gandhi meeting the CJI, do you still think that there's nothing to read into at all? Do you think there would be any comments from the opposition for that matter?
Yeah, I would feel sorry for that CJI.
All right. Mr. Jethmalani, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you taking the time out and joining us with your view on all of this controversy. All right, let's bring in our legal editor, Nalini Sharma, because clearly there's a divide in the legal world. There are some senior advocates who believe it was simply not okay for the Prime Minister to be at the CGI's residence. But away from that, Nalini, is this really the first time that we've seen, a CJI and the top leader of the country really mingling? We've seen them share platforms together, be at events before. There are pictures, of course, doing the rounds of iftar parties where these kind of get-togethers were common. So that really remains the question. Why has it triggered such a big controversy when it's happened before?
Well, Akshita, anybody who believes that there is no communication line between the highest judge of the country and the Prime Minister, of course, is living in a fool's paradise. Because the Chief Justice of India himself has come on record where he's talked about how when he was down with COVID, the Prime Minister had specifically called him, had advised had advised several manners of treatment for him, after which he'd gone into Ayurveda, he'd become a vegan. So there are communication lines that are open between the Prime Minister and the CJI. There's no doubt about that. They've also been meeting for several official functions where they've shared a stage, they've shared conversations. Some of these events have also happened behind the screens where there have been no cameras available. So they have been meeting on and off. Another very important thing to understand in this context is that this was not an event that was organized for the Prime Minister. The puja and the pandal has been set up in the CJI's house for the past 1 week. He'd invited several dignitaries, everybody who has been coming throughout the week, especially during the evening time for the Aarti, which is when the Prime Minister also went. In fact, sources close to the CJI office have also told our colleague Kanu Sarda that the meeting between the CJI and the Prime Minister was in fact very brief. The Prime Minister was there only for the Aarti. He did the puja, he took the prasad and he left. So there was no real conversation or meeting that happened between them. Almost the entirety of Prime Minister's stay, you can see from the time when he entered, when the CJI is welcoming him with his wife, from that till the time the puja, all of that is there on camera. Now, there's a lot of allegations saying that why was this publicly televised? Why was there publicity around this event? But then if it was the contrary situation, where there were no cameras present, then that would have led to larger speculation. So this at least brings in a certain level of transparency where we know that the Prime Minister and the CGI had actually met. Most importantly, Akshita, just to wrap it up, the separation of powers is something that is part of the official duties of the executive, the judiciary, as well as the legislature. But that should not be looked into through their personal interactions or personal things. Just because they're interacting on a personal basis does not mean that during the course of their duties it's going to have any impact on that. So a judge, like the judges of the Supreme Court have been stating time again, should be judged only on the basis of his judgments and not of anything else. And if there are any concerns that people, including people from within the legal community, have against the CGI, then they should bring it out with regard to his judgments and not his personal connections or his personal meetings or anything that is carried on as part of his personal life.
It's as simple as that. You know, how we all separate our personal and professional life. That's what it comes down to. But Nalini, just one quick follow-up.
Yeah.
You know, you highlighted how Prime Minister Modi and CGI Chandrachud have repeatedly met at events. But it's not just this Prime Minister and this CGI. It's been something that's been followed and happened for years together.
Well, absolutely, Akshita, because it needs to be understood that when you're talking about the chief of the judiciary as well as the prime minister of the country, it's important for both of them to be on the same page regarding several issues to ensure that the country and the citizens do not suffer. Most importantly, issues like appointment of judges. There is so much back and forth, so much communications that happens between the judges and the government regarding these aspects, where on several aspects they don't even agree with each other. But that does not mean that neither of them is not performing their duties up to the mark, or there is anything that is wrong in this entire situation. The questions that are being raised with regard to this particular meeting are not concerning what happened at the meeting itself, but the fact that the Prime Minister and the CGI met. Now, that can't be a point of concern for anybody, keeping in mind that it's for everybody to see exactly what went on at CGI's residence. It was a personal event. It was a puja that CGI Chandrachud and his family members at his house continue to have every year at the occasion of Ganpati. And there were several dignitaries who were invited. It's only the fact that this one Prime Minister or this one dignitary, the meeting with him is being blown out of proportion. And at the same time, even if you hear what Senior Advocate Kapil Sibal, who is the SCBA president, also said in his press conference, he said that he knows for a fact that the CGI is a man of very high personal integrity. Yeah. So when his integrity is not in question, how can his meetings or the meetings that he conducts, especially with the Prime Minister of the country, be called into question in the first place?
And what really is in question then is what everyone will raise. Thanks very much, Nalini, for putting that in perspective for us and joining us on this broadcast. This is clearly an issue that's going to, continue to snowball into a massive controversy. You've got reactions coming in from union ministers, which we will track very, very closely as they counter the opposition on their charge that another institution has been compromised because the CGI and the Prime Minister did a puja together. We lost a veteran political leader today in Sitaram Yechury, who passed away at the age of 72. From his roots as a student activist in Andhra Pradesh to being a key figure in the CPI, and Yechury's rise is a story of unwavering commitment and strategic skill. His tenure as Member of Parliament in Rajya Sabha as General Secretary of the CPIM essentially showcased his prowess in coalition building and advocacy for public welfare. Speaks volumes, really, the tributes poured in, cutting across political circles for Mr. Yechury, including this post by Prime Minister Modi, who said that he's saddened by the passing away of Mr. Sitaram Yechury.
India bids farewell to a towering figure in its political landscape. Sitaram Yechury, the stalwart of the CPM, has passed away at the age of 72. Born on August 12, 1952 in Andhra Pradesh, Yechury's journey from a student activist to a leading politician is testament to his lifelong dedication to his ideals and communist politics. His political career began in the turmoil of the 1970s, joining the Students' Federation of India in 1974 and the Communist Party of India Marxist in 1975. His early activism led to his arrest during the emergency imposed by then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Emerging from the shadows of imprisonment, Yechury became a prominent voice in student politics, later rising to become the General Secretary of the Students' Federation of India and a key member of the CPIM Central Committee. In 1992, Yechury's leadership marked a period of significant coalition building. His collaboration with leaders like P. Chidambaram in drafting the Common Minimum Program of the United Front government in 1996 highlighted his strategic acumen. From 2005 to 2017, Yechury served as a Rajya Sabha MP from West Bengal, where he was known for his incisive speeches and relentless advocacy for public welfare. In 2015, he was unanimously elected as General Secretary of the CPM, a position he held with commitment to the party's legacy of coalition politics and social justice. Yechury's ability to forge alliances and his role in bringing Nepal's Maoists into the political mainstream were testament to his diplomatic skills and visionary leadership. He leaves behind a legacy of resilience, advocacy, and profound impact on Indian politics.
Let's get you details now of what's played out in Karnataka's Mandya, where overnight there was communal tension leading to incidents of arson as well. All this played out during a Ganesh Chaturthi procession, a Visarjan procession that passed by a mosque. The allegation is that the procession slowed down close to a mosque, leading to stones being pelted at the procession. Chief Minister Siddaramaiah has said that anyone who tries to divide the state on religious lines will not be spared, even as the BJP, H.D. Kumaraswamy are all accusing the Siddaramaiah government of appeasement politics.
Stones pelted, vehicles torched, bike showroom vandalized. These images are from the Mandya district in Karnataka. A communal clash broke out during a Ganesh Visarjan procession at Nagmangala on Wednesday. According to the police, stones were pelted on the procession, allegedly from near a mosque, and then the other community retaliated.
Entire shops has been brought down to ashes. As you can see, truly terrible visuals from the communal clash that broke out last night in Nagamangala, which is in Mandya district. The government says that the accused from both communities, both Hindus and Muslims, have been arrested. The only reason why members from the Muslim community pelted stones is because the Ganapati procession was passing via a mosque and it was halted there for a prolonged period of time.
Over 50 people have been arrested by the police so far. The situation is now under control.
We are investigating the case. Already registered 3 cases. One suo motu case by our police. So far we have secured some 50 people from both the sides. So we are working on it. We are keeping eye on the developments.
The Siddaramaiah government issued a stern warning and assured that those trying to divide Karnataka in the name of religion won't be spared.
It is controlled, it is peaceful at the moment. All the senior officers are camping there, so nothing to worry.
Okay. So anybody is detained, so what is the reason?
We have arrested some 52 people from both the sides. Both the sides they have arrested.
The BJP-JDS alliance went all guns blazing against the Siddaramaiah government and called the incident a result of Congress's appeasement politics.
सिद्धारामैया हिंदुओं का खिलाफ है. सिद्धारामैया केवल माइनॉरिटी का अपीसमेंट कर रहे हैं. एंड मैं मांग रखती हूँ एनए भी इसमें इन्वॉल्व होना चाहिए. तब सत्य क्या है पता चलेगा.
Some miscreants, they have tried to disturb that procession. Here the failure of the government is everybody is criticizing. Because of government inefficiency to actually give some protection to one section of the society, this kind of thing is occurring again and again after this government came.
Meanwhile, a 2023 video from Mandya has also emerged. The video shows two communities getting into a verbal altercation during a Ganesh Visarjan procession in front of the same mosque. The police had then intervened and brought the situation under control. With Anaga Keshav in Mandya, Bureau Report, India Today.
And now you've got the Karnataka Home Minister saying this wasn't communal in nature and even referring to the stone pelting as accidental pelting, whatever that means. We will continue tracking the latest on the story, but let's move on now to another big story here on India Today. The diplomatic row between India and Maldives is a thing of the past. Following a controversial series of posts targeting Prime Minister Modi, Maldivian ministers Mariam Shuna and Malsha Sharif have resigned. And this move importantly comes as Maldivian President Muizu prepares to visit India, as they've said, as the Maldives side has said, to rebuild ties.
सुंदरता को शब्दों में समेटना बहुत मुश्किल है. जो लोग दुनिया के अलग-अलग देशों के.
If you remember the Prime Minister's visit to Lakshadweep at the beginning of this year, you also remember the unexpected mockery that came his way from a series of Maldivian ministers. Most notably, Mariam Shuna and Malsha Sharif, who broke all ministerial propriety to taunt the Indian Prime Minister. Their taunts seemed aligned with the anti-India campaign that had brought the Muizu government to power last year. The ugly spat had taken its toll, with the two ministers being suspended amidst escalating diplomatic anger from India. But now, things have totally backfired on the two ministers. They have resigned after their boss, the Maldivian president, announced that he would be visiting India soon to rebuild ties, signaling a potential recalibration of the Maldives' foreign policy. The ugly attacks by the two women ministers had significantly added strain to relations between the two countries. Their departure from the government is seen as a clear indication of the Muizu administration's intent to mend diplomatic relations with India. Muizu's party, which had stormed to power on an India out plank, realized quickly that it had bitten off more than it could chew by opening a hostile front with India. The diplomatic spat had not only severely harmed tourism inflows into Maldives, the island nation's government realized it couldn't sustain the acrimony, dependent as it is on India for a whole host of services, including medical and economic. In August, after 8 months of tensions, India's External Affairs Minister travelled to Maldives, signalling a thaw in ties.
When you say India is perceived as a big bully, you know, big bullies don't provide $4.5 billion when the neighbors are in trouble. Big bullies don't supply vaccines to other countries when COVID is on, or make exceptions to their own rules to respond to food demands or fuel demands or fertilizer demands because some war in some other part of the world has complicated their lives.
The resignation of the two rude ministers, likely forced on them, will be seen as Maldives acknowledging its error and suggests that despite his inclination towards Beijing, Muizu recognizes the strategic importance of maintaining strong ties with India. The Maldives and India share deep historical, cultural and economic links, and the stability of their relationship is crucial for the broader security dynamics of the Indian Ocean region. The resignation of the two ministers serves as a symbolic gesture, demonstrating the new administration's commitment to improving ties with India and moving past the tensions of the recent past. Bureau Report, India Today.
Gaurav Samant joins us live with more details on that big development. Gaurav, just months ago, the India-Maldives story was very, very different. So what really explains this complete turnaround?
two aspects to this. One, Maldives realized that President Muizu could win elections on an India out campaign, but he could not sustain himself on an India out campaign. And they realized that when Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Lakshadweep and a large number of Indians cancelled their vacation to Maldives, and India, from being the #1 tourist country, sending people to Maldives came down to number 6, and that adversely impacted the economy of Maldives. So that was a realization, point one. Point two, Maldives also, did a mid-course correction. So while the uniformed 88 personnel of the Indian Armed Forces who were posted there, again for the welfare of the people of Maldives, they came back. Civilian employees have replaced them because Maldives realized that if no one was to operate those aircraft, there were people who were dying in Maldives for the want of medical health care, and they had to come to India for health care. So that realization also dawned. Two, India remained deeply engaged with Maldives. India did not sulk. India repeatedly remained engaged because Maldives is an important partner in the region. So when Prime Minister Narendra Modi took oath for the 3rd time, President Muizu was invited. He sat close to the Prime Minister. President Muizu is to come once again. Then when Maldives was facing a financial crisis, India did give a rollover in terms of loan repayment. There were some voices in Maldives that spoke of a FTA. While there is no separate proposal for an FTA according to government sources, but they said in case Maldives have something in mind, India will engage with them. So Maldives has realized that while you may say that you're hostile to India and get votes, remaining hostile to India will only have adverse consequences for the people of Maldives in more ways than one. And China cannot do all that India can do for Maldives, right from saving them when there was a military coup earlier to the time when the entire country ran out of water. Indian Navy ships went and gave them water throughout. So for everything they depend on India, they cannot remain hostile to India. So President Muizu will be visiting India shortly. This perhaps was some kind of a sweetener. It remains to be seen how much does the relationship actually become sweet, because if the people remain hostile to India, I'm not sure how many Indian tourists would want to visit a hostile country, pay money to those who abuse India.
Very, very true. And it's another feather in the cap, essentially, for Modi diplomacy. As we've seen this kind of a strategy, very effective against other countries as well. Maldives now the latest in that group. Thanks very much, Gaurav, for joining us with all of those details. But I'm leaving you, for the moment, with a heartwarming interaction between Prime Minister Modi and Paralympian, our golden boy, Nafdeep. Enjoy.
सब लोग डरते हैं
जोश में से बच्चा
हैं तो क्या पहनाना चाहोगे?
जी सर।
तो मैं यहाँ बैठता हूँ, तुम पहनाओ। हाँ वाह, लग रहा है ना तुम बड़े हो।
सर
हाँ
ये सर थ्रोइंग आर्म है तो इस पे थोड़ा साइन कर दो।
हाँ
जी सर।
चल जी,
ये थ्रोइंग आर्म है सर।
यहाँ पर?
हाँ सर।
अच्छा, यही तुम यहीं से करते हो?
जी सर।
ओह, तो तुम भी मेरे जैसे ही हो।
हाँ सर, लेफ्ट हैंड से।
हाँ वाह,
थैंक यू सर।
तो इतने बाद में इतना गुस्सा करके कैसे करते हो?
सर वो पिछली बार 4th रह गया था ना सर, तो इस बार
जुनून था,
आपको प्रॉमिस करके गया था।
हाँ, पूरा कर दिया।
तो सर वही था सर।
तो बाकी लोग क्या कहते हैं?
सब अच्छा ही बोल रहे हैं सर, देश का नाम रोशन किया सर, सब अच्छा बोल रहे हैं।